So normally at this part of a NEMLA meeting, for those of you who haven't been to one in the past, this is where we would take a tour of our host institution, which would have been the BSO this year. And Sarah and Bridget have very graciously put together a sort of virtual tour. So this is Sarah Funke Donavan, Associate Archivist for Digital Assets at the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and Bridget Carr, the Blanche and George Jones Director of Archives and Director of Archives and Digital Collections for the Boston Symphony Orchestra. She's currently in her 29th year working as the BSO's archivist. Take it away.
So Sarah, can everybody hear me? This is Bridget. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So Sarah, you're
Yes.
going to control the slides, right, Sarah? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay, well, I'd like to welcome you all to virtually welcome you all to the BSO archives. Luckily, we had a number of images that were digitized, so I was able to put together a little presentation to show you when you had you come into the archives. All I can say right now is that thank goodness for archives and archival collections and for archivists. The BSO, which has had to cancel the conclusion of the BSO season, the entire pop season, and has not yet made an announcement about Tanglewood, but who knows what's going to happen. But they have been able to repurpose a lot of digitized archival content in order to support the BSO as it works to stay connected with its audiences on its website. So I know that Sarah's going to talk a little bit about that more at the end, but please check out bso.org and look at all the different types of offerings we have, from historic performances to master classes with musicians to lesson plans for the youth. So, okay. So welcome to Symphony Hall. This is an old postcard, and the images I've chosen are also to give you a sense of the type of things that we have in our collection. So you can go to the next slide, Sarah. And this is the Brooks and Linda Zug reading room in the archives. We moved into this space 4 years ago from a much smaller space. A lot of you may have come and visited our space when you were taking the music librarianship class with at Simmons, or as part of, if you are a member of the archivist profession, you might have come on a tour. But anyway, this is our brand new reading room, which we absolutely love. So the next slide, of course, as everybody knows, the purpose of an archives is to collect, preserve, and provide access to records of enduring value in a variety of formats that document the history of all that now encompasses the BSO. So that includes a lot of different brands. You can go to the next slide. Of course, the BSO was founded by Henry Lee Higginson in 1881, who sustained it for 37 years until 1918, when the BSO's first board of trustees was formed. And looking back at 1918, what we're going through right now, I went back and looked up about what happened at the BSO during the Spanish flu in 1918, and what happened was that the beginning of the 1918-1919 season was delayed by 2 weeks, but that was the only interruption in any of the BSO's activities, including POPs, because of course the POPs went throughout the summer back then. So it's absolutely amazing what we're going through now. It's a very unprecedented time in the BSO's history. So our collection it founds the BSO that was founded in 1881. This is our first conductor, George Henschel, with the members of the orchestra on the stage of an artistic rendering of the background of what was the old Boston Music Hall. I usually have a story to tell about that, but I don't have time to tell that story today. So we can go on to the next part of what the BSO encompasses. I'm sort of doing this in chronological order. So the BSO was founded in 1881. The Boston Pops was initiated in 1885. A lot of people think it started with Arthur Fiedler when he started his tenure in 1930, but it had been around for a long, long time before that. Then the next, what do we have next? Oh, yes, the Boston Music Hall, which the Boston Symphony never owned or operated, but it was something that we have a lot of materials that document the different uses of the Boston Music Hall from actually before the Boston Symphony existed, from 1864 till 1900 when Symphony Hall was built. Then after that, Symphony Hall, of course, which was built in 1900, we have lots and lots of architectural plans in our collection that get used a lot by our facilities people. And and of course, Symphony Hall is famous as being very famous for its great acoustics and was one of the first. It was the first concert hall built in accordance with the emerging science of architectural acoustics that was just being developed at Harvard at the time by a young professor, Wallace Clements, assistant professor Wallace Clements Sabine. So we have a lot of documents about the making and the building of Symphony Hall, which get used quite a lot. Then, of course, the inaugural concert of Symphony Hall, the first concert was a performance of the Missa Solemnis in 1900, on October 15th, 1900. And the photo you see here of the interior of the hall is a very early photo of Symphony Hall, which you can tell because not all the statues are in the niches. The statues were added over the course of the first several years. But that's one way that we can always date these early photographs, is whether or not the statues are in the niches, showing in the niches. In addition to collecting the making of Symphony Hall and all the BSO concerts that have taken place there, we also have a great collection of programs of events, of non-BSO events that took place in Symphony Hall. Handel and Haydn Society concerts, the automobile shows in the early 1900s. The first non-musical event in the hall was the inauguration of Henry Smith Pritchett as the president of MIT. So there are lots of different types of events. And a few other things that have taken place in the hall over the years: Duke Ellington, Lionel Hampton, fashion shows. And then finally, to bring it a little bit more up to date, we recently acquired some great flyers for more recent events that took place. Gordon Lightfoot and Nina Simone concerts in Symphony Hall. So we really try to document Symphony Hall as well as the Boston Symphony events that take place there. So again, and the Boston Symphony, actually Arthur Fiedler and the Pops were very instrumental in the beginning of the Esplanade concerts. We have a great collection of Esplanade concert programs and photographs and other memorabilia that we've been making more and more available to people especially through our digitization projects we'll talk about a little later. Then, of course, Tanglewood was started in 1934. We have an incredible collection of photographs and programs, sound recordings, that document the history of the Tanglewood Festival, which was actually founded as the Berkshire Symphonic Festival in 1934. And of course, the Boston Symphony owns the properties out at Tanglewood. The Tanglewood Estate, these are two postcards. The Tanglewood Estate was donated to the BSO at the end of 1936, and the shed in the smaller postcard was completed in 1938. And so there was a nice association with the Berkshire Symphonic Festival, and ultimately the BSO took control of the whole festival. They owned the property. So the Tanglewood is a huge part of our history and a lot of the materials that we preserve in the archives. Also then, of course, the Tanglewood Music Center was formed in 1940. There's our founder, Serge Kusevitsky, who will be turning, I think it's 100 and the big huge anniversary. He was born in 1874. In 2024, there's 150th anniversary of his birth that we're really looking forward to celebrating. Here he is with two of his proteges, Leonard Bernstein and Lucas Foss. And one of the things I always show is the manuscript for the Alleluia Chorus by Randall Thompson that was commissioned by Kusevitsky for the inaugural concert of the hall. Something that we hope to see this summer, but I'm not sure that we will, is a crowd gathering at Tanglewood. This particular photo is from 1937, and it just makes me very sad to even look at photos of crowds of people gathering to listen to music, because it's something, you know, we can't really do right now. Then, of course, we document all the other buildings on the Tanglewood property. The Theater Concert Hall, which was designed by Ilil and Eero Saarinen and opened in 1941. The BSO acquired the neighboring Highwood Estate in 1986, and now that is the home of the Tanglewood Music Center. Everything is nicely connected. And when we acquired that property, it paved the way for the creation of the Seiji Ozawa Hall, which was built in 1994. And then just last summer, we opened the Lindy Center for Music and Learning at Tanglewood. So the archives seeks to document all the activities and all the people that are involved in the making of these of the beautiful concerts and events that take place in these places. So of course we have a huge sound recording collection. This is just a picture of the catalog that lists the BSO's very first catalog from recording from 1917. And then more up to date, we have more recent formats for live concert recordings. We have thousands and thousands of reel-to-reel tapes, and also nasty things that are called digital audio tapes, which we will talk about, Sarah will talk about a little later. We've had great success in getting all of our live concert recordings off digital audio tape and into the cloud in a variety of formats. Let me see. Yes, and oh, the exhibits, yes. One of the things that the archives is responsible for is doing exhibits. Those of you who go to Symphony Hall, I hope you always take a chance to take the opportunity to look at our exhibits. These are just two pictures of two cases we had this past year. Luckily, Allison Fulmer, who works with me, she digitized a lot of the content in all of our exhibit cases. So I'm hoping that this can be sort of pushed out via our marketing office during the time that the people aren't able to come to the hall, but we'll see if we're able to accomplish that. Last year we did there's one table case that we're able to change very quickly. This is the case about Malcolm Lowe when he retired as the BSO's concertmaster. And then also the musical world we lost Jessie Norman. She had a wonderful close relationship with Seiji Ozawa and the BSO. So I always put up these little exhibits to pay tribute to all the, to bring back all these memories of the people who have been such a part of the BSO's life and music making. Oh, this is another part. The BSO had to cancel its trip to Asia this year at the beginning of February, but we had put up an exhibit on the BSO's history of touring, of tours to Asia in the Cabot Connors room. So so that material was up there as a context for what the BSO was doing. At Tanglewood, we have exhibit space in the visitor center, Last year we did an exhibit on the built environment, the history of the built environment. We also have done things to highlight things like the history of popular artists at Tanglewood. A lot of the people coming like to see that kind of content. Of course, we acquire lots of different materials. Thanks to Holly at BU and our long association with Dorio Anthony Dwyer, who was our principal flute from 1952 to 1990, we acquired a huge collection of Dorio Anthony Dwyer's personal papers and manuscripts, which arrived in a lot of different shapes and sizes of boxes. Her daughter brought them, but we're very, very happy to have her and to be able to have her collection at the BSO archives. So anyway, I think the last thing I'm going to say is that it's the whole, let me see what my time is. Oh, yes. I think I'm going to turn, Sarah, can I turn it over to you now? Because I got to set up the iPad.
Yes, so Bridget has shown you the analog collections. We've been moving more and more to digitizing what we can of our collections. We've digitized quite a number of our program books in the past 10 years. The BSO program books, the POPs, Tanglewood Music Center program books are all available online. We've been also doing more digitization projects of videotape, reel-to-reel tapes, and most recently we just finished reformatting the last of our DATs, so all of that is now preserved, and we have a wave backup of it, so we don't have to worry about losing that content. In addition to digitizing content, we've also digitized our performance history. These used to be, our performance history used to be recorded on these, not quite index cards, but these cards that were kept in the publications office. And so over the years, they've been transcribed into a database. In 2012, this was made available online. We named it Henry, after Henry Lee Higginson. And in 2018, it was actually, we were able to sync it to our OPAS performance history database to update daily, so you can get the most recent changes on our performance history. And this is just a screenshot, which may be familiar to many of you, and how you access our performance history database at archives.bso.org. So the impact that digital access has had on the archive's ability to reach and provide services to a wider audience has been tremendous. We might get about 40 site visits a year, but as you can see online, we get quite a number more visitors, just like similar to today. We've had at least twice as many participants at a NEMLA meeting than we've ever had before. So the online reach has really expanded the BSO archive's impact. And these are just some fun top 10 composers searched by year. We always do this for fun for our archives committee meetings, so they can kind of see trends in which composers are the most popular. As you can see, Andras Nelson's focus on Shostakovich has kind of made sure that Shostakovich stays in the top 5 every year. And just more stats on page views and access. And as we've been digitizing content, we've been making it available internally as well, especially the audio and video that we can't necessarily share publicly due to copyright issues. At least we're making it available for staff such as press and marketing, and even reference for publications to just have better access to our historical content. And these are some stats on our digital asset content management system usage internally. So the archives has been a strong support in the BSO's response to COVID-19. The first initiative that the BSO launched once the rest of the season was canceled was to put content online as part of a BSO at home initiative. And two of those elements of the BSO at home initiative actually use archival content and came from our department. There's a great performances list with 6 weeks of archival concert audio from Tanglewood in 1938 to Andrus conducting Sibelius, I think, in 2016. So it kind of covers the whole gamut of BSO's different conductors, various soloists that have performed with the BSO, and that's all available on the BSO's website. There's kind of a big banner over the website right now that just says BSO at home. Since no one is currently buying tickets, the traffic to the website has actually increased due to this content with a lot of patrons and I guess the general community being very interested in this content when they can't attend live concerts. And then the other initiative are WCRB's rebroadcasts. These are, they were radio broadcasts that WCRB in partnership with the BSO is releasing again 4 weeks every night at 8. A new one is released, and those are also available on our website. And there's more discussion about more collaborations, especially as the pop season has been canceled. So stay tuned, come back and visit our website. There will be more to come.